A new era of South Carolina baseball is set to begin. The coaching search is officially over, and the Gamecocks are turning to one of the legends of college baseball to revive a once proud program. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use promo code SECU for a first deposit match of up to $100. Guys, again, that's our friends at Prize Picks. Download the app or go to their website. Use promo code SECU to get your first deposit match today. I did not know there was a hire that South Carolina could make for their vacancy at the head coaching spot for the baseball program that would leave me speechless. Yet, here we are. We had heard the typical names throughout this search come up. Monty Lee, Landon Powell, Cliff Godwin, some others from the ACC, Chris Pollard from Duke, maybe Wake Forest coach, maybe Dan McDonnell from Louisville, Brian O'Connor as a long shot from Virginia. There had been names that had popped up, and the typical names you would hear on a short list. But the hire that South Carolina just made, coming so far out of left field that none of us could have seen it coming. It was announced late yesterday afternoon, at least the per sources rumor mill started going. First on it, Teddy Cahill from Baseball America, then followed Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball and many others as well. Paul Mainieri, yes, former LSU Tiger Paul Mainieri, has surfaced as the leader, and all signs point to that he will be the next head baseball coach at the University of South Carolina. A hire completely out of left field. Like I said, guys, when I first heard the news, I did not know there was a hire that could leave me speechless. I did not know there was a hire that would leave me sort of feeling perplexed from the standpoint of, guys, there were guys out there that felt like, I don't want to say no-brainers, but felt like hires where the reception would have been overwhelmingly positive for very obvious reasons. There were some guys out there that I think would have been bigger risks. I have been openly honest about what I thought about the potential hirings of Landon Powell and Monty Lee as the head coach. And so I think hires like that, there are some that, very obviously would have been hires that would have been suspect, and a lot of critical opinions and analysis would have followed those. Paul Mainieri is one of those that I continue to go back and forth on because there are so many pros and cons. And again, it's just such an outside the box, such a out of left field, such a hire that none of us would have ever expected. Guys, Paul Mainieri, former LSU coach. This is his resume. And guys, here's the thing. It is one of the most impressive resumes in college baseball. Nobody can take that away. His overall record, 1,501, 775, and 8. This guy has won over 1,500 games in his stops. 21 regionals, won 10 of them. 10 super regionals, won 6 of them. 6 College World Series appearances, and of course, 1 national championship with the LSU Tigers back in 2009. Also, guys, he won 4 SEC titles at LSU, 6 SEC tournament championships. He was National Coach of the Year in 2015. He was the Baseball America Coach of the Year in 2009, Collegiate Baseball Coach of the Year in 2009, 2-time SEC Coach of the Year in 2009 and 15. I mean, this guy has had as much success as anybody in college baseball. But then the questions start to come up. His age, He retired from LSU. Guys, I talked to some of my LSU contacts, and I posted this on social media yesterday, and I know a lot of South Carolina folks did not like it. But again, I would say don't shoot the messenger. I was just curious. How do LSU fans feel about this guy? And I would say this too, guys, by the way. Take it with somewhat a grain of salt, because very rarely do fan bases have nothing but glowing reviews about a coach that Paul Mainieri retired, but they all but forced him out, right? He cited health reasons. He was essentially forced out at the end there at LSU. Let's just call it for what it is. Either way, I was told he's a lazy recruiter. He's going to win with pitching and defense. He will win a lot of games is what they told me. Does less with more. He's going to ignite the fan base. The media is going to love him, going to be a bit of a media darling. He is a massive upgrade from Mark Kingston. A lazy hire is what I was told. Take it for what it's worth. And an old dog who can't learn new tricks. Now, guys, all that being said, when I look at this hire, because I've had some time to process this, I didn't want to say anything immediately following based on do I love the hire, hate the hire for South Carolina, because it's just a lot to unpack, man. It's just a very off-the-wall hire. One that, again, none of us expected. The first thing that jumps out is Paul Mainieri's age. 66 years old. He will be 67 before he coaches a single game at South Carolina. That is the first thing that jumps out. That and the resume, right? The resume is as impressive as any as you will find in college baseball. After thinking about it a while, I'm less concerned about the age, and here's why. I don't think this is a hire. At least I don't think so. I don't think this is a hire that South Carolina is making with the thought that this is going to be our guy for the next 10 or 15 years. Like, I think you have to be realistic about that. But in this transfer portal heavy, win now environment, I don't know that you need that guy necessarily. I will give South Carolina and Ray Tanner a lot of credit for this. We have criticized them a lot for not thinking outside of the box, not landing the big name, quote unquote. This is about as outside of the box and about as big a name as you could land. I mean, again, guys, there are some other younger guys that are up-and-comers in the game, but none of them have won 1,500 games. Most of them ain't won a national championship, and all of them sure as hell ain't been to Omaha 6 times, been SEC Coach of the Year, won 4 SEC titles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I commend them for thinking outside of the box here. And I've warmed up to this hire, admittedly, guys, again, over the last 24 hours or so. I think it's a hire where it left me speechless due to the fact that in every head coaching hire is a roll of the dice. But, you know, I don't know that it's a guarantee that it's going to work out. I mean, guys, there were very real reasons why he was pushed out of LSU. Things soured. Things got stale. From what I heard, he did stop recruiting. He did not want to recruit. And, guys, Paul Mainieri has not recruited. It has not won in this era of college athletics with the portal, with an IL. I think the staff is going to be massively important. Now, the word on the street is he's bringing over Terry Rooney from LSU. That is a huge piece of this. That is a massive get for South Carolina. I was told that by LSU folks, and just those that know college baseball. Terry Rooney was the director of scouting for LSU these past couple of years, was Paul Mainieri's pitching coach. He's one of the best in the business. He's going to be an elite recruiter. It sounds like there's potentially Monty Lee is going to stay on staff. That would be big for South Carolina as well in regards to roster retention. I think there's some other guys they could bring on. Does Landon Powell join the staff in some capacity? I would love to see a former player like an Adrian Morales, who's done great things at Nova Southeastern, come to South Carolina and help rebuild that culture. And when you talk about guys rebuilding South Carolina, here's the thing. The bottom line is this when it comes to this hire. It is a massive upgrade from Mark Kingston. Like, no matter what you think about it, no matter what I think about it, this is a massive night and day upgrade from Mark Kingston, just from the pure baseball perspective, right? Paul Mainieri has crapped out more baseball than Mark Kingston will ever know in his lifetime. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. So from that standpoint, this is a massive upgrade. And I think it's one of those things. If you have the right staff around you, I don't think you ask Paul Mainieri to go out there and be the world's greatest recruiter and be the world's greatest transfer portal NIL guy. If you have that support system around him, you allow him to go coach. I do think Paul Mainieri immediately sparks South Carolina baseball from the standpoint of, and the title of this video, can Paul Mainieri bring South Carolina baseball back to national relevancy? I think he does so immediately, guys. I think he does so from that standpoint. I think it's a great hire. South Carolina baseball, once again, is interesting. South Carolina baseball, once again, feels like must-see TV. South Carolina baseball, once again, feels like a bit of a national player. Now, is Paul Mainieri the guy to get South Carolina baseball back to Omaha? I think with the right staff in place, I think he can. Because I look at it, guys, even with Mark Kingston, who was completely incompetent. One of the worst baseball coaches South Carolina's probably ever seen. Even with Mark Kingston, they were a game or two away from Omaha. Like, it's not like this program, even though it feels like they're light years away, and maybe they are from the 2010, 11, 12 type run, but just getting back to Omaha, I don't think that they're that far off. I don't think they're that far off because it's still South Carolina. You're going to get immense talent. You got some of the best facilities in college baseball, and now you have a guy in Paul Mainieri that can flash that ring, that can flash that resume, and then just his name alone, his aura is a huge boost to South Carolina baseball. So, guys, it is a fascinating hire. I can't wait to see how it plays out. It's a massive upgrade from the last staff. There's no question about that. I think making sure you get the assistants correct is pivotal. Making sure you get the assistants correct is pivotal. And I'm also curious to see what style of baseball South Carolina plays with a Paul Mainieri, and does he adjust? Because, again, what I was told by LSU folks, guys, is pitching and defense, small ball. You're going to be elite when it comes to pitching, but you're not going to swing it like Tennessee. You're not going to swing it like Texas A&M. You're not going to be a big basher home run team like maybe Ray Tanner was early in his tenure. So will that still work? Because every game, including baseball, is going offense, right? And then you've got the challenges of, again, recruiting. You got to recruit against Tony Vitello. You got to recruit against Wes Johnson. You got to recruit against Kevin O'Sullivan, Tim Corbin. Hey, even Eric Bakich in your own state. That being said, guys, it's a massive upgrade from Mark Kingston. Make no mistake about that. And I do think Paul Mainieri's presence alone should help boost South Carolina immediately. This is a win-now move. This is not a win next year or 2 years. It's a win-now move for South Carolina. And, guys, lastly, I'll say this. Because of his age and everything, this does feel like a move where I feel like if you're hiring Paul Mainieri and you're bringing this guy out of retirement, it does feel like this is a move. And I don't know if Ray Tanner's capable of this. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit. But this feels like a move where I'd be thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. Like, hey, we're going to bring in Paul Mainieri. We know he's not our 10-year option. He's our 3 to 4 year, and we're going to have a younger coach under him, groom him to be the next head coach in waiting type of deal. It feels like that's the play, or that kind of has to be the play, because if it's not, you're more than likely going to find yourself 3, 4, 5 years from now sitting in this exact same position. And I know that's tomorrow's problems, but you'd like to find your long-term guy. You'd like to find your Tony Vitello. You'd like to find your Jim Schlossnagle. You'd like to find your Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida, your Tim Corbin at Vandy. You'd like to find one of those guys. What I think Wes Johnson's going to be at Georgia. So I wonder if there's not some greater plan here, some more grand plan. Maybe it's to groom Landon Powell to be the next head coach if he's on staff. Maybe it's to groom Monty Lee, which I would hate that idea, but maybe it is. Some folks have suggested that. Maybe it's somebody else. It's a name we haven't heard yet. But either way, guys, this hire, it's off the wall. It was unexpected. I think it's a fascinating hire. I think it's an upgrade for South Carolina. Now, where they fall in this new SEC, does Paul Mainieri still have some juice left? Does he still have some gas in the tank to take an SEC program back to Omaha and a national championship? And can South Carolina return back to the top of the pinnacle of college baseball with Paul Mainieri leading the program? We shall see. Guys, that's going to do all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.